My dear friends, hello to all of you. How are you? It is a joy for me every time I sit in front of the mobile phone, because this is what I'm using to tape these talks. And it is joyful because it gives me the opportunity to share. And at a very high level, at a very spiritual level, to be in community with you. Transcending the fact that actually we are not even present together, but somehow I believe that what I am doing is communicating with you in the spirit. So I now pray that the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of life, the Spirit of love, may come to us now in this afternoon and guide us, lead us, and open us to His truth. Amen. Last talk was about the manna, the food from heaven, and how the manna is also a beautiful parable about accepting the portion, what we are receiving here and now. Here and now. This topic, the here and now, and accepting and receiving what we are given in the present moment, it is a major issue, a major topic, a priority in our religious tradition. As opposed to dwelling in the past, or just to be too anxious about the future. It's about being present. And I also told you how important it is, the practice of awareness, of mindfulness, of being present, of accepting what is given to us now. All these things, awareness, being mindful, being present, receiving, all of them have to do with a word that is a key word, but also somehow a scary word. The word is contemplation. Contemplation. Why do I say that this is a scary word? Because if I am telling you now, you are going to be a contemplative, maybe you will be shocked. What do you mean that I am going to be a contemplative? Do you mean that I have to give up my life? Usually, especially in my country and in all Catholic countries, when we say a contemplative life, we mean something very specific. We mean those men and women that go into a monastery and don't go out. Don't go out. So we call religious life active or contemplative. Active, for instance, active sisters are those who, being sisters, being consecrated to God, but still they lead an active life in the sense that they may be dedicated to teaching, to education, or to preaching, or working in hospitals, and so on and so forth. Whereas contemplative, we reserve this word usually for nuns, consecrated women, but they don't go out. They devote themselves to contemplative life. Okay, so this is usually what we understand, almost by default. Contemplative is a life of prayer. Don't go out. Don't be engaged in activities, whereas other people, they want to do something. So they are not suitable for contemplation. They have an active life. So usually we tend to understand contemplation in this way, So if I'm telling you that you should, or you can be, or you have a call to be contemplative, you will somehow be shocked. Of course not, I cannot. I am married, or I don't know, I am working, or I am not a religious person. So, what do we mean now by contemplation, and also the call to contemplation? Okay, so I want this talk really to be something friendly. Actually, I have been preparing it. I have been reading, I have materials, but I wouldn't like to be boring and say many technical things, very proper, like a lecture. Hopefully it will be much more like a personal sharing, something about what has to do with me, about my own experience. And that is why, in the first place, I want to share with you, okay? So, the first thing I would like to show to you is a picture, okay? A picture. I have it here with me now. It's big, huh? So I hope that you can see it. I'm moving the phone so you can see the picture, right? This picture has a story. I'm putting here besides me. Okay. Let me see if I can also. Good. I think now it's better, okay? So you can also see the picture, and at the same time, I can talk. Actually, a few years ago, my brother and I went to Australia, and on one Sunday, we went to church. And that particular Sunday, the gospel was the one from St. Luke's Gospel, when Jesus went to the house of Martha and Mary. Very, very well-known gospel. And then I was happy because I love that gospel so much. And then in that particular church, they were offering, a kind of Paris letter, and also with the readings for the day. So we took it, and there was a very small drawing, just black and white, just a few lines, but really that drawing touched me so much that as soon as I saw it, I took it as something really, really precious. What did I like in the drawing? I like, Mary. Very different from other paintings I had seen before. I like so much in her, her attitude, stable, rooted, attentive, at the same time relaxed, looking at Jesus. Somehow, her presence spoke to me so much, like a wonderful example of how I really wanted to be in my life. So I took the drawing, and my brother, who is a wonderful painter, I asked him, Juanma, please, you have to do something for me very important. I want you to make this small painting, small drawing, into a picture and give color. And this is what he did. And I have it as a tremendous treasure in my life. I have it in my room, And I always look at it, always, all the time, you know. And, you know, it's very funny because it shows the contrast between Martha, the big sister, in red, anxious, a little bit also upset, bothered, pointing at her sister. And Mary, calm, rooted, focused, still. Oh my gosh, something from very deep in me is always telling me, I want to be like her. I want to be like her. I'm going to tell you something about how all this thing started with me. In the first place, I need to tell you that although I am a Dominican, and I have been in religion since I was so young, I think I have shared with you already my spiritual journey, but we have never been introduced properly to meditation or contemplation, for that matter. In our daily routine, in our daily schedule, there is always some time for meditation. I remember when I was in Madrid studying philosophy and theology that the evening prayer used to be late at 9:30 in the evening. So at 9 o'clock, it was the time for meditation. Usually, that time for meditation was like a private time for prayer. And then everyone used to do it in a different way. Some of us maybe walking along the cloister peacefully, quietly walking, or some people used to go into the chapel, or maybe stay in their own rooms. But we didn't have, I would say, like a kind of method on how to meditate. I think I have already shared with you that for us prayer was very important. It is not that we didn't like to pray, we did, and very much so. We already had started, you know, in the charismatic groups, in the prayer groups. We knew the praising, worship. And also, many of us, we also went to Tessé and enjoy, you know, the beautiful prayer there, very quiet, meditative chants, meditative songs, sometimes of silence. So that's it. But as I'm going to tell you now, that was our training on meditation. At that time, I'm talking about 30 or 40 years ago, that was all about meditation as far as I can say, you know, in my country, in Spain. Still, I want to share with you one experience that for me was important. I used to have, you know, back in Spain, the Sunday Mass, also in the evening. So I remember that before the Mass, I used to prepare myself, you know, for the preaching. And how did I prepare myself? So I used to sit on a mattress, you know, on the floor, lit up a candle, and then try to meditate in the sense of thinking on the gospel, so that I could have some ideas, you know, to share. So that was my intention. So I used to sit there maybe 45 minutes before the Mass, trying to prepare myself, thinking about the readings, the first reading, second reading, the gospel, you know. But very interestingly, slowly, instead of just thinking on the gospel, eventually what happened was that my mind preferred to be still, calm, and not so much engaged in thinking or on ideas, And then I realized that actually that was not a waste of time. But actually, when I went to Mass, I could find myself, inspired, So it was not just that my stillness, my silence was laziness. So that was the beginning that I realized that there was something beautiful in silence. And also, those days in Madrid, I'm telling you, when I was around 31, 32 years old, I started to develop also a kind of taste, for solitude, to enjoying to being alone. I used to go to the mountains, at least maybe every 2 weeks, and spend there, 1 or 2 or 3 hours alone. There was a very funny story, that on one occasion, out of clumsiness, my car didn't work. So I had no choice but to call to our priory, to my friend. His name was Suspi. And asking, please, Suspi, I am in trouble. Can you come and help me? So he came, He came and helped me out. And then he knew that I was very close to the mountain. He said, okay, what are you doing here alone? I'm sure that your friend, meaning to say, your female friend, is here somewhere, because I cannot believe that you will just go by yourself, so boring, to the mountain alone. And I told him, listen, you have to trust me. I am here by myself. I'm going to the mountain alone. I enjoy being alone. The funny thing is that even after many years later, still Suspi asked me, come on, Vincent, now tell me the truth. You were not alone that time, right? You were with someone, right? Still he couldn't believe it. But actually I was alone. I enjoy being alone. So that is how I slowly I started to enjoy being alone. But finally, the last push was when I read in a book. When I read in a book that the spiritual journey requires some serious meditation. And then, of course, I told myself, oh my gosh, I want to really engage myself in a spiritual journey, so I better start some serious meditation. And this happened like 20 years ago. Nearly 2001. At that time, I didn't know what was a proper meditation, Only what I'm telling you. I prayed to God. I prayed through the liturgy prayers, the Mass, Rosary, talking to Him. But I didn't know, I really didn't know how to meditate I didn't have a method of meditation. And then in one book that I was reading, the book was written by Ken Wilber, I remember, Integral Psychology. He mentioned, the books of Father Thomas Keating. And this Father Thomas Keating, he was, because he has passed away recently, he was a Trappist monk, Trappist father, who devoted all his life to help other people, like someone like me, in the practice of contemplative prayer. He himself was a true contemplative, rooted, in such a religious order as Benedictians, Trappists, with a long tradition of contemplative prayer, and he devoted all his life to help others, in the practice of contemplation. So I followed him since then until now. So all my life, these last 20 years, I have received this amazing gift of what he calls centering prayer. Centering prayer. The name is itself a blessing. Centering prayer. Because it's a prayer that goes to the center, comes from the center. When we are distracted, when we are dispersed, when we are lost, we can always go back to the center, like Mary, So in these last 10 minutes of today's talk, I would like to talk about this centering prayer, okay? So again, there are a few guidelines that are important so that we could find the benefit of this prayer. The first is the position of the body, the posture, the body posture. So also I tell the same to other people who want to practice. You can either sit on a chair or sit on a cushion on the floor. That is what I do. Not always, but if I can, if I have the chance, I prefer to sit on a cushion, on the floor, and my knee and my legs are crossed. And then I use a candle like this. You see? Okay, this is a electric candle. I use a natural one. And for me, the candle has a very powerful meaning. On one hand, the candle, is able to draw your attention, to catch your attention, so helps you to concentrate. And on the other hand, the most important one, the candle, is a reminder of a presence, that God is there. So I lit up the candle, I put the candle in front of me, and then I sit properly. And then how should I position my body? This is very important. The back should be straight, not tense, but straight, not leaning on the back of the chair, not forward, but erect and resting on the cushion. Your hands relaxed and resting on your knees. Your shoulders relaxed. Your legs should be the feet parallel and the knees making a right angle, okay? Your head, imagine that there is a string pulling from the top of your head, so your head is not backwards or forwards, straight, and the chin a little bit tucked in like that, okay? And then you can close your eyes or slightly let them slightly open. It's up to you. And then you start breathing and you concentrate on your breathing. Put your attention on your breath and feel your belly as you breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. The most important part of it is that this prayer, so simple, receives the name of that, of prayer, because of our intention. We express our intention through one word, the sacred word, just one word, not even one sentence, one word that you are going to choose because it will be meaningful to you. In my case, I use the word Abba, Father. Abba, Father. So I say this word at the beginning when I sit down. Gently, Abba, Father. With this word, I express my intention. I don't need to repeat it constantly. And then every time that my thoughts, wander away, or I have lost my attention, it will happen. Then I come back gently, slowly, just by saying the word, Abba, Father. You can choose your own word. Lord, have mercy. Love. Spirit. God. Jesus. The word will be meaningful to you. It is your sacred word. And then the practice is as simple as that. You can start simple, maybe 10 minutes. 10 minutes. And then you will be surprised that you want to do more. And then it doesn't mean, that this simple practice has to replace other ways of prayer that you enjoy and that you are committed to. Let us say the Divine Office, Rosary, of course, the Mass, talking to God by any means. But you will realize that this simple practice has many benefits. The time is going to the end, is reaching half an hour. So I will continue next day. But before I continue, I want to tell you an anecdote. Someone asked a saint, what is the benefit of meditation? Actually, what have you achieved through meditation? And that saint answered, you're right. I haven't gotten anything. I haven't achieved anything. But you have no idea of how many things I have got rid of. So this is the purpose of this simple prayer, this gentle prayer, as we will see. Not to achieve, not to get, not to grasp, not to reach, but to let go, to clean, to declutter, to simplify. In the next talk, I will make this point even more clear. How we are in God, otherwise we wouldn't exist. You know, like a little fish who is in the sea. And then the little fish asks the mother, "Mommy, I want to go to the ocean." And then the mommy says, "My son, my dear, you are already in the ocean. We are already in God." But we don't know. And we think we need to do something, we need to achieve something, we want to reach, I don't know, to what kind of experience. And we have forgotten actually that it's very simple. It's simply to go beyond the illusion that God is not in us, that we are not in God. So, in this simple prayer, we don't want to get anywhere. We don't want to feel anything. We don't want to get transcendental peace or a kind of enlightenment. No. We want nothing. We just want to be. And slowly, gently, the awareness will come that we don't need to do anything to be with God, because God is here. That is the great paradox of the spiritual life. That the most basic thing is the most simple. And like the little fish, we are already in the ocean. We are already in God. Just we need to be aware. God bless you.